Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Winter and welcome to Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. As you can see, this is the HD edition, which is the re-release in the 3-pack collection, which was Snake Eater, Peace Walker, and Sons of Liberty, which was re-released for the Xbox 360 as well as PlayStation 3. And this is the PlayStation 3 version we're looking at here. So before we get going here, let me lay down a few ground rules as to how this is going to go down. We're going to watch all of the cutscenes and listen to all of the mandatory codec conversations. The ones we will not watch, or the ones that we will not listen to, are the ones that are just, hey, here are the controls, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. Because there's a couple of them that are pretty unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. I'm pretty familiar with this game, so it shouldn't take me too much time to get the hang of it again, so I really don't think I need to listen to those. And we will not be going for perfect stealth. We will not be trying to collect every single food item and or plant or other miscellaneous items. We're going to basically just go for the essentials for that. However, we will be going for the Tsuchinoko. So if you've never caught a Tsuchinoko or are unfamiliar with how to catch one, then you might get some useful information out of that. Or out of this for that, I guess I should say. Another thing is, audio issues have been fixed. I'm currently recording this series in my new setup. It's a lot quieter. However, now instead of dogs barking, you may hear my dog snoring because his bed is now right next to where my microphone is set up, and you know, he always likes to stay close to me whenever I'm just hanging out playing games or whatever. So every now and then you may hear him snore, you may hear him playing with a toy or something like that. But the dog barks, which again, were not my dog. That should be taken care of. Another thing we may have to worry about now is the occasional door slam, because my apartment is right near the front door of the building and not everybody's courteous, you know? Apparently respect for your neighbors is a thing of the past, which is a shame, but what can you do? What else did I want to go over? We'll take a look at the special features and go in depth on those that this has to offer, which admittedly aren't many. There was a lot more in the PlayStation 2 version, but we'll go in depth on those in a later episode. For now, we'll go ahead and get rolling with the series. And I'm still unfamiliar with what these options actually do for you in the game. But I always choose, I like Metal Gear Solid 3 because this is actually my favorite Metal Gear Solid game. And we'll go with normal difficulty. I'm terrible at European Extreme. I can do perfect stealth. Oh, and we'll not also be going for the keratin frogs.
After the end of World War II, the world was split into two, East and West. This marked the beginning of the era called the Cold War.
There's frankly too many frogs to go for, and I've done it once on this version and also once on the PlayStation 2 version, and I never want to do that shit again if I don't have to. I mean, they're not bad up until the last set of levels. There's 3 sets of levels in particular that are really problematic in terms of that. In fact, both on the PS2 version and the PS3 version, I ended up playing those particular sets of levels about 4 or 5 times minimum just to make sure I got the goddamn things. So it's not a fun experience. But I'm looking forward to this. This is a great game, man. And at this point, what can you say about it that hasn't already been said? It's somewhat legendary.
Flying over Pakistan, altitude 30,000 feet.
And rightfully so.
Soviet airspace.
20 minutes to drop off.
Commencing internal depressurization. Equipment check. Arm main parachute.
All right. You ready to go?
Drop zone still showing a high pressure mass. Cav okay.
Good. We've got high visibility.
Everybody grab you a cup of coffee. This is going to take a few minutes. I got mine. Oh, look at this.
Connecting oxygen hose to interior connector. Put on your mask.
Check out his mask, man. It actually says the name of the game on it. I don't know if anybody's ever mentioned that before. I've never seen it in any of the videos that I've watched.
Does anyways know what he's doing?
Approaching release point.
10 minutes to drop off.
Hey, are you deaf?
He said put out the cigar and put on your mask.
Epic cigar throwing action. Should have been the tagline. It's a tactical espionage.
Depressurization complete.
Checking oxygen supply.
6 minutes to drop off. Opening rear hatch.
Yep, need to get comfortable for this. Yeah, see, there it is right there on his mask.
Sunrise.
See how many copyright notices I get for the soundtrack to this game.
External temperature minus 46 degrees Celsius. 2 minutes to drop off. Stand up.
We all know it's Konami, so it's hard telling if you're gonna get one or not nowadays.
You're at 130 miles per hour. Try not to get frostbite from the wind chill.
1 minute to drop off. Move to the rear.
Activate the alarm model.
This is one for the history books. The world's first Halo jump.
He could have
10
saved
seconds
that.
to drop off. Stand by.
You know, he didn't have to squash it.
Status okay. All green.
Kind of a party foul of sorts.
Countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Spread your wings
And fly. God be with you.
Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da. Sorry, ever since Ground Zeroes, man, it pops into my head every time I see
Some
him.
important news. The head of the CIA has finally given us the green light for the Virtuous mission.
Virtual mission?
No, the Virtuous mission. The future of our Fox unit depends on it. If it succeeds, we'll be officially organized into a unit.
Virtuous mission? Sounds like some kind of initiation ritual.
Now, don't get cocky. This isn't a training op.
Right. So what exactly is this wonderful mission?
Well, about 2 years ago, a certain Soviet scientist requested asylum in the West through one of our moles. His name is Nikolai Stepanovich Sokolov. He's head of the OKB 754 Design Bureau, one of the Soviets' top-secret weapon research facilities, and the East's foremost expert on weapons development.
Sokolov. Isn't he that famous rocket scientist?
The very
Yeah,
same.
there's my dog making his bed. Sorry about
On
that
April
ambient
12th,
noise.
1961, the Soviets achieved the first manned spaceflight in history.
He's my kid, man. I'm not about to yell at him for fucking up my show.
Well spoken. The rocket that carried Yuri Gagarin to orbit was the A-1, known as the Vostok rocket. Sokolov is said to be the man most responsible for the multi-engine cluster used in that rocket. After Gagarin's flight, Sokolov left rocket development to become the head of the newly established Design Bureau.
From a lowly technician to head of a design bureau, that's quite a success story. So why do you want to defect?
It seems he'd become afraid of his own creations.
Afraid?
Call it a crisis of conscience.
And for that, he left his country and his family behind and went over the fence?
Not exactly. One of his conditions was that his family was also to be taken safely to the west. He used a mole to get the family out first and succeeded in sneaking Sokolov over the Berlin Wall shortly afterwards. I was the one who conducted the operation.
The security on the eastern side was still full of holes back then. Then what?
We got Sokolov over in one piece, but the whole ordeal had left him exhausted, and we checked him into a hospital in West Berlin. It took him 2 weeks and more than 600 miles to get from the research facility in the Soviet Union to Berlin. He was in no condition to say anything coherent. And it was only a week later that we had something much bigger on our hands.
The Cuban Missile Crisis.
October the 16th, 1962, President Kennedy received word that the Soviets were in the process of deploying intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Cuba. The President demanded that the Soviets dismantle and remove the missiles. At the same time, he announced a naval blockade to prevent further missile shipments from reaching Cuba. But the Soviets didn't back down, instead placing their armed forces on secondary alert. Soviet transport ships carrying missiles continued on course towards Cuba. US and Soviet forces went on alert for an all-out nuclear war. Frantic negotiations were conducted through the UN's Emergency Security Council and unofficial channels to end the hair-trigger standoff.
True
Finally,
stories.
on October the 28th, the Soviet Union agreed to remove its missiles from Cuba, and so the world avoided a nuclear holocaust. But in order to get the Soviets to pull their missiles out, we had to make a deal.
You mean the one where the US agreed to remove its IRBMs from Turkey?
No. The Jupiter IRBMs deployed in Turkey were obsolete, and we were going to get rid of them anyway. They had no strategic value whatsoever to either the US or the Russians. The Turkey deal was a ruse, a cover story that was fed to the other intelligence agencies around the world.
So what did the Russians really want?
Sokolov. They wanted us to return Sokolov.
You mean the Soviets pulled out of Cuba just to get their hands on Sokolov?
That's right.
What the hell was he working on?
At the time, we had no idea. We were running out of time. It was either give up Sokolov or risk full-scale nuclear war. In the end, we had no choice. President Kennedy gave in to Khrushchev's demand. The next day, I got Sokolov out of the hospital, handing him over to agents on the eastern side. Sokolov kept on screaming, "Save me," until he disappeared from my sight. Then, a month ago, we received some new information from one of our moles.
About Sokolov?
Yes. He was taken back to the research facility and forced to continue working on the weapon in question under KGB supervision. What's more, it's on the verge of completion.
So what kind of weapon is it? Something to do with space rockets?
No, missiles.
Same technology.
I guess you're right. We don't know the details, but it appears to be a new kind of nuclear device. For half a year now, the Soviets have been conducting frequent nuclear tests at Semipalatinsk.
Something to do with the weapon, I assume.
We're talking about a secret weapon so big that Khrushchev was ready to pull out of Cuba to get it back.
Is Sokolov still in the facility?
No. According to our intelligence, he's in Selino-Yarsk, a place in the mountains about 3 miles to the west that's known as the Virgin Cliffs.
The Virgin Cliffs. Nice name for a virtuous mission.
They moved him there just recently.
Why?
Apparently, they're conducting a field test of the weapon, but it's our best chance to get him back.
I enjoy how Snake likes to make sure that he's understanding of everything being said to him. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Known that too when he contacted us.
Actually, that's a lie. There is. The only stipulation when it comes to stupid questions is the severity of stupid attached to the question. But they do exist. I've heard several of them throughout my 30-plus years on this planet, and I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot more, and you will as well, and I'm sure you all have heard quite a few as well. Da, 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 da. So yeah, what can you say about this game?
Listen up, Jack. Your mission is to infiltrate Selino-Yarsk in the Soviet mountains, ensure the safety of Sokolov, and bring him back to the west.
You know, this is one of those games that's almost been discussed to death.
If we don't get Sokolov back before that weapon is complete, we'll be facing a major crisis. The clock is ticking. Once we've confirmed the rescue of Sokolov, stand by at the recovery point. A recovery balloon will be dropped at that point. Helium will be pumped into the balloon to inflate it. The process takes about 20 minutes. Once it's complete, the gunship's arm will latch onto the balloon and pull it up.
The Fulton surface-to-air recovery system. I'm familiar with the theory.
You're going to become well familiar with it here in a couple of years, pal.
Do you think Sokolov is up to it?
The shock will be less than during a parachute jump, and the arm can handle up to 500 pounds.
So you're planning on going over the border in a single combat talon?
She's equipped with 2 6-barrel 20mm Vulcan cannons, as well as 2 40mm machine guns.
Sounds like she could hold her own against a battalion of tanks.
Even with the fuel in the reserve tank, we're facing a 4-hour time limit. If all goes well, it shouldn't take more than a few hours.
Home in time for dinner.
But if anything goes wrong,
You'll be eating dinner, breakfast,
and all the rest of your meals in the jungle.
Oh, that's not good. Oh, shit. Another happy landing. And I think we still got another 6 or 7 minutes before we can actually do anything. Bam, ba-da-la-da. I'm afraid to press any buttons. I don't want to skip over anything. It's good graphics though. Even for PS2 this looks pretty good. And the HD remake does not disappoint. Or HD, what would you call it? A paint job? A refurbishing of sorts? Whatever you want to call it. It looks pretty fucking good. So as soon as we're actually able to play, I'll take a moment and kind of do a little bit of talking before we go too in depth on actually moving around and doing shit. But yep, here's another conversation. Hope you still got your coffee, because I've still got mine.
Do you copy? You're already in enemy territory. Somebody might be listening in. From here on out, we'll be using code names to refer to each other. Your code name for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake from now on. You're not to mention your real name.
Snake?
What, you don't like snakes?
What do you mean?
You've eaten one before, haven't you?
In survival training?
I'm glad to hear that.
I don't know if I'd ever order one in a restaurant, but...
Be careful, you might not have a choice.
What about you, Major? What should I call you?
Let's see. I'll be Tom. Call me Major Tom. This will be a sneaking mission. You must not be seen by the enemy. You must leave no trace of your presence. Is that clear? This kind of infiltration is the Fox unit's speciality. In other words, weapons and equipment are procured on site. That goes for food as well. You're completely naked, just as your name implies.
Great. Now I see why you asked me if I like snakes. I suppose calling me Snake was your idea of a joke, too.
No. There's a good reason for that. I'll tell you later when the time is right.
Gotcha. Getting back to the subject, how exactly am I supposed to feed myself?
You've been issued a knife and a tranquilizer gun. Use them to hunt for food. You'll also find some medical supplies in your backpack.
Yeah, about the backpack. I lost it in a tree on the way down.
I see. Well, you'd better go back and get it then. You know where it is?
No problem. I can see it from here. It's stuck on a branch.
To climb a tree, stand in front of a tree that's covered in ivy and press the action button. I'll be monitoring your progress over the radio. We can't risk violating Soviet airspace, but I'll be in the gunship. My frequency is 140.85. I'll give you a call if I need to talk to you. If you need to talk to me, use the send function. Okay, Snake, go get your backpack.
Here we go. Excuse me. First chance to talk in 10 minutes, and the first thing I fucking do is cough. So yeah, what can you say about this game that hasn't been said? There are several excellent little web episodes about this game, and the ones that I will recommend are, well, if I get permission from the individuals who've done them, I will link them in the description. But for now, they will go unnamed, and as soon as I get a call back from them or a message back from them, then I'll go ahead and mention them. But let me just say that there are 3 that I highly recommend, even if you're a fan of the series and think you know everything about them. There's always a new perspective that can be put on something. But again, the problem with this is everybody's already talked about it to death, so I think pretty much everything has already been said. The only thing that I can think that hasn't been mentioned about this game is how much fucking fun it is to play. You know, that always gets overlooked for some reason. Everybody always talks about the technical achievements and the emotional impact of the story and shit like that, which is great, don't get me wrong, but it's also a shitload of fun to play. People overlook that for some reason. Let's see, guns in the backpack, right? Yes, well, before I go up and get the backpack, a couple other things I wanted to address, because once we get the backpack, there's another 7 or 8 minutes of dialogue that will be exchanged. What was I going to talk about? Think about it quick, Winter. Come on, goddammit. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to try and restrict the episodes to about an hour each, maybe just over. This opening mission, Virtuous mission, is going to be split up into 2 parts, because that would easily get to an hour and 45 minutes, and that's if I play it with perfect stealth. If we're in the middle of a cutscene, then the episode will roll on. I'm not going to chop the cutscenes up just for the sake of time. And what was the other one? Come on, Winter. God damn it. Let's see. What did I establish already? I already talked about not going for perfect stealth, not going for the keratins, not going for the food. You know what? I'm sure it'll come to me. So let's go ahead and kick off the next cutscene by getting the backpack. A lot of firsts for this series, including climbing trees. There we go. Had to think for a moment, because one button will send you jumping over off of the tree branch, and the other one will swing you down, so had to think there for a moment.
I see you've retrieved your backpack, Snake.
Yeah, get your cup of coffee, grab you a cigarette. It's going to be a minute.
Take it out of your backpack. In the survival viewer, choose weapon from the backpack. Your available weapons will be displayed in a window in the upper left. From that list, choose the weapon you want to equip and press the enter button. For other equipped items, just do the same thing from item.
Got it. Use the survival viewer backpack.
Yep, that's right. Survival is fundamental to this mission. After you've been out in the field for a while, your stamina will start to drop. If your stamina gets too low, it'll affect your performance. You won't be able to shoot accurately, for example, and your wounds won't heal as smoothly. Keep an eye on your stamina so you don't run out. To recover lost stamina, you can hunt for local flora and fauna. You can use either your tranquilizer gun or your knife to hunt.
My only weapon is a Mark 22 Hush Puppy tranquilizer gun?
That's right. It's been fitted with its own suppressor. However, the suppressor will deteriorate every time you fire. Once its durability reaches 0, the noise suppression effect will be gone. So don't get too trigger happy with it.
Yeah.
The suppressor's durability is shown in the icon. Any weapons and equipment beyond what you're carrying now, you'll have to find as you go.
I have to find my
I
own
would
weapons
skip
and
over all
equipment.
this right
Whose
here,
crazy idea
because
was
it's
this
not really
anyway?
mandatory information.
Solo covert actions are standard.
But here in a
Fox
moment, there's going to
operating
be
procedure.
a fairly crucial
Can't leave
character
any
to the
traces of your
plot
presence.
introduced,
Weapons,
and
equipment,
she,
footprints,
yes,
sweat, or
she
bodily waste.
has quite a
Same
bit
goes for
of
bullets and cartridges, too.
expositional
Your
dialogue to
presence in
deliver.
enemy territory is
So if I
already a
hit the
violation
skip
of
button, it
international
would skip
conventions
over
of
her.
warfare.
Well, actually, it
There
wouldn't
aren't
skip
supposed
over
to
her,
be any American soldiers
but it
in
would
Russia.
mute everything,
It could
and I would have
spark
to
an
scroll through the
international
text by hitting a button, you
Can't
know,
let anyone
old
see
school
you.
style.
You can't let the enemy know you're there.
And
It's a stealth mission.
I don't want to do that.
Ghost
I think it's
Snake,
important
every
to
sense of the word.
get her
There'll be no
voice
rescue
across
of your
in this
captain.
particular series.
Military and US
Because when I say
government
crucial,
deny
I mean
any
she's not just
involvement in
crucial
the
to this story,
Just have to
but
take
she's
care of
crucial to
myself,
the
huh?
whole mythology
I'm afraid
of
so.
Metal Gear
You've been
Solid.
given a fake death pill for that purpose. SIS guidelines stipulate that soldiers
And for
on
some
covert
reason,
ops
whenever
like this
people
one
start talking
issue
about
a
how there's
potassium
always been,
cyanide capsule.
you know, weak
Take it to your
females
body so you
portrayed
can
in
take
video
it
games and shit like
How
that,
generous.
they always skip over this character.
Use it if you're taken prisoner by the enemy.
Of course, I'm talking
Send
about
you
the
into a
boss.
state of
I'm
forced
sure most
death
of y'all
for
have
short
probably played this game by now. I think at this point, it's one of those games that, like,
So, how do I come back to life?
should come
Just
with
take
every
the
single
revival.
system. You know, everybody should play it at least once. It's fantastic.
That's
It's
the
well
one.
made.
But be careful. If you remain in a state
This
of
is definitely
forced
my
death for
favorite
too
Metal
long,
Gear Solid
nothing
game,
will be able to bring you back.
with the
Remember.
first Metal Gear Solid being
keep it
right
in
behind that.
You said this was a
And
solo
Peace Walker
mission, right?
after that, strangely enough.
I guess that means I can't count on any reinforcements.
Correct. The mission rests entirely in your hands.
A real one-man army.
Relax, there's a support team ready to back you up over the radio.
Who?
I'll introduce them to you.
And remember,
This
the
time,
enemy may be listening
rivals
in, so
of
it's
utmost
important to
importance.
maintain radio
The
silence
first
from
member
here
of
on
the support
out.
team will be in charge of monitoring your physical condition, acting as a
Just
medic.
thought I'd throw that out there while
as well as
he's
recording your mission
talking
data.
about every little
There's a member
aspect of the
Fox
mission.
as well, and she's here on the gunship with me.
She.
Hello, Snake. I'm paramedic. Nice to meet you.
Paramedic.
As in a medic who comes in by parachute.
Aren't you going to tell me your real name?
Are you going to tell me yours, Mr. Snake?
My name, huh? It's John Doe.
And they call you Jack for short. You're a regular Captain Nemo.
A name means nothing on the battlefield. After a week, no one has a name. What's your name?
Jane Doe.
Very funny.
I wasn't joking, but I'll tell you my name only if you manage to make it back alive. My frequency is 145.73.
She's also in charge of recording your mission data. Whenever you want to save, send a message over the reserved save frequency.
Of course, that's me flipping through the
140.9.
pictures up there in the top
So
left
saving
corner.
lets me record my mission data.
Very nice little touch that
That's
you can do
right.
that and kind of keep it
also
interesting for
records the
yourself.
state of your health.
Good to know.
There's one more person I want to introduce you to, Snake.
Ah, here we go.
Speaking of snakes, you remember the boss, don't you? A legendary soldier and your mentor. Actually, it was the boss that got the DCI's authorization in the first place. She's going to be serving as Fox's mission advisor.
Boss is?
She also helped me plan this mission. She and I were at SAS together.
Jack, is that you? How many years has it been?
Boss?
That's right. It's me. Talk to me. Let me hear your voice.
It's been 5 years, 72 days, and 18 hours.
You've lost weight.
You can tell just by the sound of my voice.
Of course I can. I know all about you.
Really? Well, I don't know anything about you.
What's that supposed to mean?
Why'd you disappear on me all of a sudden?
I was on a top-secret mission. You didn't need me anymore.
But there were still so many things I wanted you to teach me.
No, I taught you everything you needed to know about fighting techniques. I taught you all I could. The rest you needed to learn on your own.
Techniques, sure. But what about how to think like a soldier?
How to think like a soldier? I can't teach you that. A soldier needs to be strong in spirit, body, and technique. And the only thing you can learn from someone else is technique. In fact, technique doesn't even matter. What's most important is spirit. Spirit and body are like two sides of a single coin. They're the same thing. I can't teach you how to think.
Sorry, doing a bit of
You'll
stretching.
just have to figure it out for yourself. Listen to me, Jack. Just because soldiers are on the same side right now doesn't mean they always will be. Having personal feelings about your comrades is one of the worst sins you can commit. Politics determine who you face on the battlefield. And politics are a living thing. They change along with the times. Yesterday's good might be tomorrow's evil.
Is that why you abandoned me?
No, it had nothing to do with you. I already told you, Jack. I was on a top-secret mission. A soldier has to follow whatever orders he's given. It's not his place to question why. But you're looking for a reason to fight. You're a natural-born fighter, but you're not quite a soldier. A soldier is a political tool and nothing more. That's doubly true if he's a career soldier. Right and wrong have no place in his mission. He has no enemies and no friends. Only the mission. You follow the orders you're given. That's what being a soldier is.
I do whatever I have to get the job done. I don't think about politics.
That's not the same thing. Sooner or later, your conscience is going to bother you. In the end, you have to choose whether you're going to live as a soldier or just another man with a gun. There's a saying in the Orient, loyalty to the end. Do you know what it means?
Being patriotic.
It means devoting yourself to your country.
I follow the president and the top brass. I'm ready to die for them if necessary.
The president and the top brass won't be there forever. Once their terms are up, others will take their place.
I follow the will of the leader, no matter who's in charge.
People aren't the ones who dictate the missions.
Then who does?
The times. People's values change over time, and so do the leaders of a country. So there's no such thing as an enemy in absolute terms. The enemies we fight are only enemies in relative terms, constantly changing with the times. As long as we have loyalty to the end, there's no point in believing in anything, even in those we love.
And that's the way a soldier's supposed to think?
The only thing we can believe in with absolute certainty is the mission, Jack.
All right.
Very career-oriented.
What is it?
Very focused.
Snake. Oh, right. Your code name
Nothing
is
wrong
Snake.
with that. That's the only
It
way to
suits you
succeed nowadays.
That's right. The
Well,
legendary
one of the
unit
ways
that
to
the boss
succeed
put together
nowadays.
during World War II was a snake.
At least in my
Cobra
line of
unit,
work.
A group of heroes that brought the war to an end and saved the world. As long as you've got a legendary hero backing you up, you'll be fine. Isn't that right, Snake?
Yeah. I can't think of anyone else I'd rather have with me. Oh, and one more thing, boss.
Yes?
It's good to hear your voice again.
Same here. After all, who knows if either of us will make it out alive? Snake, you are always best at urban warfare and infiltrating buildings. But this is the jungle. Survival is going to be key. Those CQC techniques I taught you are sure to come in handy.
CQC? Close quarters combat, huh? I've been in the Green Berets for the past few years. I'm probably pretty rusty.
Not to worry. I'll be here to help you remember. After all, this is your first actual survival mission. I'll be supporting you over the radio.
Where are you, boss? Next to the Major?
The boss is communicating with us by radio from aboard a Permit-class submarine in the Arctic Ocean.
My frequency is 141.80. Call me if you need my advice on battle techniques.
Gotcha.
Your mission is to retrieve Dr. Sokolov. Dr. Sokolov is being held in an abandoned factory located to the north of your current position. Avoid heavy combat and don't let anyone see you. Don't forget that this is a stealth mission.
Just a friendly reminder in case y'all weren't aware that this was all about stealth for the 7th time. Whatever. It works. And now I'll get to play again for a bit.
Commencing Virtuous mission now.
Yes, here we go. Okay. So, again, this is going to be broke up into 2 parts. And unfortunately, what doing this series means, and the nature of, keeping it to an hour and not breaking up cutscenes, the downside to that is that, there's going to be instances where some episodes are more focused on cutscenes than actual gameplay. If you've played a Metal Gear Solid game, then you know that these are all about the story and establishing characters and shit like that, and setting up the events and, post-modern art and, and shit like that. So, so yeah, it's fairly cutscene and codec conversation heavy. Alright, now before we get rolling, let's take a look at our bag and see what we're starting out with. Here's our bag. Of course, this was brand new to the series, the Camouflage Index. This is what I'm looking for now. Start you off with a few face paints. Represent your country. Well, some of them anyways. That seems a little bit discriminatory, doesn't it? No, I don't think they were intentionally trying to discriminate. I think if they had a flag for every single country and region in the world, this would probably be 112. It would be a fairly lengthy list. But for now, we're going to go with woodland. Of course, camouflage, you can go all the way up to 100%, and 100% means you're fucking invisible. No one's going to see you. So, it's pretty cool. It's pretty clever. Of course, as everybody else has mentioned that's ever talked about this series, it does break up the gameplay by having to go into this menu and select your camouflage, and then 30 seconds later doing it again whenever you've entered a new sort of colored area. But it's pretty cool. I like it. And then the concept was damn near abandoned after Metal Gear Solid 4. And of course, Metal Gear Solid 4 did the Octo Camo, which meant you didn't have to go into a menu. You could just hold the button down and automatically adapt whatever color or texture pattern you happen to be laying on at the time or standing up against. So here's our weapons. This is the tranquilizer gun, knife, pretty self-explanatory. Directional microphone, good for using to listen to where enemies are, listen to conversations and shit like that. That's actually pretty crucial. Later on, we're going to rely heavily on that fucking thing. And you can also equip whatever food you happen to have acquired at this point and throw it at enemies. And the fake death pill, I've never used that. A lot of this stuff we're not even going to be using here in the Virtuous mission, so I'm just going to go ahead and set it aside. This is something else that was new to the series. Food, of course, refills the stamina meter. Every little thing that you do eats up on stamina, from walking to crawling to running, climbing over shit. Every little thing eats away at it, some just more so than others. So the fact that you actually have to eat these meals or dispose of them once they go rotten, because that happens as well, is pretty fucking cool. I'm a big fan of this. I think it's pretty neat. What else have we got here? The map, pretty self-explanatory. These are the areas that we have uncovered so far. Move around the map with the left analog stick. Sometimes you can go up. It does not show areas that you have not been to, if I remember correctly. Could be wrong on that, though. Alright, let's move on and commence the Virtuous mission. Because here we are now at, what, 35 minutes? Just over that mark? 36 minutes? Whatever. Yeah. So, again, it's a very cutscene heavy game. And I'm sure most people have played it, but, you know, if you're going to do it, fucking go all out or don't do it at all. And that may be somewhat contradictory for me to say, or maybe kind of confusing, since I did say we're not going to be going for the frogs or perfect stealth or every single meal or anything like that. But you know what? There are plenty of guides available on the interweb that shows you how to do those things. I don't need to do those. In fact, I know that there are plenty available because I myself had to hit up a food guide when I was going for every single food item. So they do exist, they are out there, you just have to look for them. And I've got no problem showing people how to do something or anything like that, but, you know, with this game, there's just such an abundance of them, but that it is redundant for me to do so at this point. You know, that's just a drop in the bucket if I do one of those guides. Which you could argue my whole channel is a drop in the bucket, but yeah, you know, I like to think that my personality, or lack thereof, kind of differentiates me from others. I mean, that's what I would like to think. I could be wrong on that.
Major, I've spotted 2 enemy soldiers.
They're probably KGB troops sent to guard Sokolov.
AK-47s and grenades.
One thing I will show off real quick.
Snake, your presence in Soviet territory
Son of a
is
bitch,
already
here we
a
go again.
violation of international law. You can't let the Kremlin find out that the CIA and the American government are involved. Contact with the enemy is strictly prohibited. Don't engage them in battle either. This is a stealth mission. Got that?
God damn, we've already heard it 8 times.
The point of this mission is to sneak through the jungle.
Alright, let's skip
without
this
being
shit. Nothing we haven't heard already. Hopefully. But it's a stealth mission if you can't tell. And again, I'm not going for perfect stealth. I've done it. I could do it, but I don't know. I'm just not in the mood to do it. Because well, actually, I guess I shouldn't say I'm not in the mood to do it, but I'm going to fuck up. You know, I always have something that comes along and fucks something up. So this right here, this is a sniper rifle, as you can see. And for some reason, not a lot of people know that you can actually pick this up in the very beginning of the game. Unfortunately, you will lose it. Excuse me, didn't mean to sound so dramatic with that pause there. I was trying not to cough. Unfortunately, you will lose this just a little bit after you pick it up. But you can get it in the first mission and cause some mischief and chaos with it if you would like to. So there's our guy right over there. What I would like to do is hold him up and see if I can correctly remember how to do that. Because while I'm fairly familiar with this game, this is another one of those games that it has been a little bit since I've played it. And the control scheme is fairly different from the last Metal Gear game that I played, which was Metal Gear Solid 5, both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain use a traditional shooter controller scheme.
Who's that?
Oh shit. While this uses R1 to raise your weapon and the square button to fire. Yeah, so there goes perfect stealth right out the window, straight out of the gate. Sorry about that. But you see, you can hold enemies up and you can shake them down and not have to move the bodies like this. Which is what I was trying to do, but you can also get information from them by clicking either the... What is it? It's either R3 or L3, one of the two, but you can actually put them in a chokehold and put your knife to their throat and try to get intel that way.
Freeze.
There we go. It's a pressure-sensitive firing button.
No, wait.
Here we go. Now we're holding them up. Take your gun off him and stop. Put it back to his head. Yeah, give me more, bitch. Alright, he's got nothing. He dropped some ammo too. There it is, okay. Of course, that technique was first introduced in Metal Gear Solid 2, but there were a few guards in that particular game that would give you a hard time and not be worth holding up because you would actually have to shoot them in like the hand or the foot or something like that before they would drop anything or give you any intel. And, you know, obviously that guy didn't give us intel. He just dropped his shit. We'll try an interrogation later on. You know what? We may try it on this guy right here. If I can get him in my iron sights. There we go. We'll do this guy here. Of course, you can kick him and wake him up if they happen to... You know, if you need the intel or if you need to hold them up or something like that. Just give him a good kick.
Freeze.
Alright, let's see if we can... Alright, so I got him with the circle button. Oh, god damn it. Well, I wasn't meaning to kill him. Yeah, so much for no kills, huh? Well, shit. Let's try this again, then. I was actually looking down at my controller whenever he slit his throat to see which button I was supposed to go to next to get him to talk. Because I think you want to push the right analog stick down while you've got them in a hold.
Freeze.
God damn it. Shit. Not what I was wanting to do there. Oh my goodness, I'm getting shot at. What the fuck? Where's this guy at? Oh, right there. Look at that. Well, you go down now. There we go. Okay, the alert's over already. I forgot that gentleman was down there. Totally spaced him off. Alright, moving on. We're going to be hitting the hour mark here pretty quick, so let's go ahead and just soldier on through this. There's not a whole lot to do there anyways. You basically, in this opening section, just want to get from point A to point B. After listening to a shitload of dialogue, of course this is a beehive. Good chance to cause some mischief, and he knows it. So let's cause some mischief with a beehive. Wait till he moves a little bit, kind of gets under it. There we go, here we go, here we go. Oh shit, he was in the right spot. Oh, well, it still worked though. Okay. But yeah, food and healing are two things that were new to the series with this installment. And the ointment that came out of the beehive there is a healing item. And we're going to get a pretty good tutorial on that in the next episode, so I'm not going to bother going in depth on it at all right here. But I will say that there is always something in this little nook here under the bridge, which a lot of people don't know was actually the inspiration for the Red Hot Chili Peppers song of the same name. Anthony Kiedis is a huge fan of not only this, but Tomb Raider 2013. If you don't get that reference, then I'm sorry you missed out on a fantastic series of mine. So where are we at here? We're coming up on where we need to be, so that's not what I wanted to do. Get into the codec screen. Oh, that's fantastic. Look at this. So everybody, once they tell you their frequency, is automatically added to your list. That was not the case in Metal Gear Solid 2. You had to remember them and then program them in on your own. But seeing as how we're coming up to the halfway point in the Virtuous mission, we'll go ahead and end the episode here and start the next one off with the conclusion of the Virtuous mission. So ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize that there wasn't a whole lot of gameplay in this episode. Unfortunately, that may happen quite a bit in this particular series. Again, it's very cutscene heavy, very codec conversation heavy, so I would just expect it at some point. The only thing I could think to do would be to actually have certain episodes that are nothing but dialogue. And I don't really know if that would be... I don't know. It may happen, it may not. I'm just kind of winging it here. I've got a little idea of a structure and a pattern that I want to follow, but we'll see what happens. But at any rate, we will go ahead and end this episode here. My name has been Winter. Thank you all for watching. I hope you got something of entertainment value out of my little 10 minutes of play out of a 45-minute video. And I will see you in episode 2. Everybody take care out there.